Hello gang, it's Deltia from DeltiasGaming.com, back with the Templar build for patch 1.6. This is the first one, and whoa is it a doozy. The Blazing Harvester, dual wield bow. I'm on my Imperial Templar, Big Jake, using this variety of different passives and unique abilities that shine in 1.6. As you can see in this video, I'm actually soloing the very first part of Sanctum Ophidia Trial. Now, with the champion system, the gear, and some of the passives that I found are really useful, you're going to be an absolute rockstar in patch 1.6. I can't wait to show you guys this. Stick tuned. We're going to go over skills, gear, even leveling and champion system. The idea behind the Blazing Harvester is to be a zerg buster. This build centers on a couple different things. One, the no AoE caps in Update 6. 2, killing enemies to get resources back. That's the whole premise of this build, using a combination of skills and gear to get it done. In a nutshell, you're using the advantage of the twin blunt blade passive, giving you a chance to bleed targets, combining that with the Balkan Scoria set to call down meteors that cannot be absorbed or mitigated. Now, getting resources back is done via the leech set and or killing enemies and using the skills with repentance. So, the strengths of this, you're going to get stronger the more enemies that are around. That sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. The more enemies around, the more AoE damage you're doing, proccing meteors, the more things are going to die. The more things that die, the more resources you get back, basically keeping you in the fight. This is not a duelist build, so if you're looking at a 1v1 type thing, this is not for you. This is a zerg buster. Being able to get into a zerg in PvP, blow it up, or soloing around, taking on 3 or 4 enemies and not having to worry about dying. That's what this build excels at. So let's talk about the specific skills in Update 6 and show you how it's done. Alright, we're on my bald little friend here. I love nuggets. Update 6 PTS, Public Test Server. So this is probably going to go live next week, and I wanted to give you a sneak peek at the skills that I found most effective for this build. Another strength of this build is you can tune this to be a little bit more magic-based, solo-friendly, and make it your own. So the skills that I found best. Number 1. You're using dual wield as your primary bar. This is for AoE damage, area damage, big nasty area damage. Whatever area damage melee thing needs is a gap closer. For me, dual wield doesn't have one by default, making it a great pairing for a Templar. Templars have top lane charge, a magic-based leap in. So it uses magic, which we don't have a lot of, but that's okay because we're not leaping in all the time. It's a gap closer, it stuns, and it puts enemies off balance, which will be helpful later on. So this is our first ability to leap in. Another ability, Quick Cloak. This was changed in the dual wield skill line, and now it's fantastic. Not only does it reduce damage taken from AoE by 20%, it gives us increased movement speed. And also it deals damage back to the enemy, a little bit of physical damage back every few seconds. So making Quick Cloak an amazing ability. Now, if you wanted more solo play, or if you wanted more, I don't know, single target pressure, you could easily swap this for puncturing strikes morphed into biting jabs. Biting jabs now scales off of stamina, and it's going to increase your critical after you use it for 8 seconds. So, depending on what content you're doing, if you're leveling, maybe you don't have Quick Cloak yet, maybe you're not doing a whole lot of zerg busting, swap that ability in there. You can also take the puncture sweep morph, making it a more magic-based build if you like. Now, third ability, Radiant Ward. Delta, you didn't take Blazing Shield? No, I did not. Reason being is Radiant Ward now gives you a reduced cost casting this. So Blazing Shield is great for a magic-based damage dealer, but for stamina, I'm not doing damage with Radiant Ward or Blazing Shield. I am just protecting myself. So the reduced magic cost is great. You know, even 500-600 magic in Update 6 can save you from death. So also it gets more strengthened as people hit you. And so the idea is jumping into a zerg, using this to bubble yourself up, taking damage, and then when it pops, recasting it as many times as you can to keep your health up, while you're stealing, leeching enemies that are dying on your killing blows and repentance. So this idea is all about defense. It's not about offense. And that's why Radiant Ward is a choice I took. Lastly, Steel Tornado. Oh my god, this thing is mean. Launches huge spinning damage. It doesn't cost that much stamina in Update 6. Now, it did get a little bit nerf on the damage, but it does an additional 100% damage against wounded targets, meaning low health. It's almost like a huge finisher, if you will. And so if you're in a zerg and you're just spamming this thing, it looks silly, but every time you kill someone, you're getting resources back. Every time you bleed someone, you're proccing a meteor set. This thing is amazing. I'm going to show you how to use it. Last ability up, Repentance. This doesn't cost anything. Even while slotted, it gives us now a magic base boost. Magic, stamina, and health. And when we use it, we use the souls or the fallen or whatever to basically give us health and stamina back. So it's amazing to watch Repentance in action because you're getting all that resources back for every time you kill someone and their body and corpse. Lastly, we got Empowering Sweep. Now this is kind of a weird ultimate choice you might think, but remember there's no AoE caps. Every one that I hit with this gives me 4% damage reduction. So, no AoE caps. I hit 20 enemies with this, times 4%. You do the math. It's very, very powerful in Update 6. Think about taking it. So that's the build. Now I'm going to go find some enemies to go nuke and show you what this looks like in combat. We're on Hircines Haunt, one of my favorite delves in Lower Craglorn. Now remember, I don't have all my gear that I do on the live server, but you'll get the idea of how to do damage with just a bunch of enemies around. So the idea here is to buff using Quick Cloak, then jump in, use your Radiant Ward, spam Steel Tornado in your ultimate, and repeat. That's it. It's very simple. So let's show you here. Mirror little nuggets, where you at? Where your tater dots at? So these werewolves down here, it's another point. If you want to be a werewolf or a vampire, you can. I am kind of a werewolf, but there's really no advantageous benefit for it right now in Update 6, but it's something you can be. So for this fight, what I'm going to do, buff with Quick Cloak, jump in, then use Radiant Ward. I'm going to use Empowering Sweep since it's up, spam a couple Steel Tornadoes, Ward goes down, hit it, leap to my next target, Ward goes down, hit it, Repentance off those bodies, leap back to the caster if I can, I'm out of stam, it's okay, that's it. Pretty simple. So I'm out of a lot of magic here, but on live server I have other ways to get back magic that I don't here, which is the Dominion lead set. Leap in, buff, Quick Cloak, get my Radiant Ward up, debuff the enemies so they reduce damage, and Steel Tornado your face off. Every enemy you kill, you're getting stuff back. Oop, Repentance, full magic and health. That simple. So more enemies around, the better you're going to do with bar 1. Alright, we're on to bar 2. Bar 2 is more of your utility single target pressure bar. So if you are going to take on enemies single target, this is what you would use. First ability up, Blazing Spear. Now it is a magic based ability. With a low cost and a range stun, it's still very useful for us. Not to mention it does damage over time, which will proc our meteor set, and also the stamina return to allies is just so powerful, I just have to use it. Second up is Power of the Light. Power of the Light is now an instacast. It now scales off of stamina, making it one of the best burst tools in the game. If you stun an enemy with Blazing Spear, put Power of the Light on them, and then use our Lethal Arrow combo, you can nuke enemies very, very fast. While we're on Lethal Arrow, it's a heal debuff. So Defile now does 30% healing reduction for 10 seconds. That's still really good. Pair it with a Poison Glyph on your weapon, you're looking at about 45%. So heal debuffs are the name of the game in 1.6 and beyond, and I think Lethal Arrow is the best morph you can get for PvP. That's our main source of damage on this bar. Now third, this is our flex spot, Purifying Ritual. Why do I have this on my bar? I just get debuffed all the time, and the small amount of healing actually does work pretty well. So if you're like me in PvP and you don't have a dedicated healer to heal you, this is really, really powerful. Now if you do have a dedicated healer and you're playing in a group, you have to use Razor Caltrops. It's the assault skill line. This procs meteors like nobody's business, but it takes a lot of stamina. So you have to use it carefully. Razor Caltrops, you can use it on a breach, entering or exiting, or maybe in the open field if you know your team's going to fight around at a specific position for a while, or if you're trying to get stealthers and gankers out of stealth. This is the ability to use. But it's a flex spot, so make sure you have the Purify on if no one else is healing, because it will make a difference. Last ability up, Breath of Life. Breath of Life is one of those abilities I love and hate on a stamina build. I picked this because not everyone's going to have Alliance rank 10. If you have Alliance rank 10 and you can get Resolving Vigor, great. At 1700 stamina, the amount that it heals for is absolutely fantastic. But most people don't have Alliance rank 10. So if you don't, Breath of Life is a good way to heal yourself, dump some magic. Remember, if you run out of magic in this build, it's okay. If you run out of stamina, you're dead, because you can't CC break, you can't dodge roll, and you can't kill anything. If you're killing stuff, you're going to stay alive. The moment you stop killing stuff, you're dead. So Breath of Life is one of those we can squeak a little magic here and there. The last ability is Solar Prism. Now you can take Solar Disturbance, Solar Prism, your morph choice. I like the one with the more powerful synergy. Just depends on what you want to do. The snares are great if you're playing by yourself. However, this now has a reduced 240 ultimate cost with your passives, making it probably the best ultimate in the game for group play. Put this in combination with Razor Caltrops on a breach where enemies have to go through. You'll kill tons and tons of people. Now, you can swap a couple of things out, but this is the overall setup that I like. So let's show you what combat looks like. From stealth, your best bet is to start out with a lethal arrow. Stunning the enemy, power of the light, a couple more lethal arrows are gone. So lethal arrow, pop a potion, power of the light, this little scudder, down. Get another power of the light on this guy. Lethal arrow, I'm going to stun him with the blazing spear. The power of the light's going to pop, dead. Now we got a boss single target. So if we can't stun this guy, we're not going to use blazing spear a whole lot. If blazing spear is up, like let's say a non-NPC does a CC break or something like that, just keep on smashing this button down. Keep on rotating power light. Not only is it a good effective ability, but it also reduces their armor. So continue to put that on targets while they go down. Heal as you need it. Put a purifying ritual down or caltrops in the area. Oh, this guy got buffed up. What happened to him? Hey, little butterfly. And Nova comes up. This nugget's about down. So just continue to use power of the light as you need and kite as best you can. Get the high ground when it's available and just do that. Power of the light, lethal arrow over and over, blazing spear when you need to stun and create space. We're back on Update 5 to talk gear. Now, the gear doesn't change between Update 5 and Update 6, and I don't have my live character over there yet, so I want to talk about gear here. Okay, so you have a variety of different options to use. You can use Vicious Ophidian, which is probably the best medium armor 5-piece you can get in the game. However, not a lot of people have that, so there's a couple options you can do. One being Arena. Arena is a really strong PvP set. It doesn't offer a whole lot of offense, but with reduced cost of breaking free in this and or the champion system, it makes it a strong choice for sustain, especially if you want to be a front-end fighter like I do. CC breaking every 5 seconds is definitely a stamina dump. And with this on your bar or on your equipment, you can really stay in the fight longer. If you're out of stamina, you die. If you're out of magic, it's okay. So I like the Arena. Some other options if you don't have Vicious Ophidian are Hunding's Rage. It's another really strong set. It's a way more damage than it would be for using the Arena set. But like I said, it just depends on what you want to do. If you want to be a frontline fighter and not run out of stamina, you might want to go with Arena. Vicious Ophidian if you do trials and have the 5-piece. So that's our 5-piece we're going to use. We're going to use that on our chest, boots, belt, hands, glove. Reason being, we want the 2-piece shoulder and helm set. There is no substitute for Valkynscoria. There just is not. It's so powerful. It's all about dot damage. Now, what it considers dots are bleeds, damage over time from fire effects, including your weapon enchant, also channels. So if you want to use Radiant Oppression as a magic-based build, this will proc off of it. If you want to use Puncturing Sweep channel or Biting Jabs channel, it will proc off of it. Even Devouring Swarm, I've seen it proc off of that. So there's a lot of things that it procs off when damage over time seems a little bit vague terminology. So from what I've tested, almost anything. That's a two-piece set that you can get. Now this two-piece set is only from City of Ash PvE. You can start getting these shoulders as soon as VR1, but it's going to be a while until you get to Helm. Now it's a VR14 dungeon. I can do it at lower levels, but it's really an endgame set. If you're not at endgame, there's other substitutes you can do. Anything that gives you stamina, weapon power, or stamina regeneration is a good set. This set, Arena, is an 8-trait craftable set. Hunting's Rage is about a 6-trait. Even Ashen Grip's a good substitute if you're just starting the game. Okay, Jewelry. Now this is a bit tricky setup I have, but it's really powerful. The Leech set. Now on Update 5, this does not seem that impressive. 143 health, magic, and stamina when you kill an enemy. Remember, killing an enemy can proc from a meteor, it can proc from razor caltrops, it can proc from doing a steel tornado, it can proc from charging in, it can proc from a dot that ticks when they die. Anytime you kill someone, you're getting back resources. And in a zerg, in a huge group, every little bit counts. So you almost never run out of resources, the one that actually works right. So with this set, it's an interesting setup because not only is it one neck, but it's 2 axes. So the axes that I go with are the Sharpen trait. Sharpen trait, I think it's one of the better ones for PvP, and with 14% using 2 axes, you can't beat it. I enchanted both with flame and poison damage to kind of give it 2 different ways to proc. You could go disease damage, but I like these 2 enchants. It's just the way I like it, but disease would be a strong choice. So for the jewelry, I went with stamina regeneration. There's a debate between stamina regeneration versus reduced cost. I like stamina regeneration because it's always on per se. If I'm sitting there in between a fight, it's on. If I'm riding my horse, it's on. If I'm CC'd for 4 seconds, it's on. Where reduced cost is only when I activate an ability. So it's up to you, but that's what I think is most effective. For my bow, I have a different 3-piece. I use 2 Dominion's bands, which increases the range of my bow, gives me weapon critical, and then I leave the default unresistible damage on there and damage health. So this is amazing setup. It's great for defending keeps. A little bit of extra range always helps. And remember, more range with the bow passive, the more damage you're going to do. Now, these sets are obtained specifically through PvP. You can get them via the mail, or you can buy the pieces from the PvP vendors. Strong substitutes. Anything that gives you stamina, weapon damage, weapon power, anything like that would be a good choice. So like Hawkeyes is a good choice. You could do Shadow Walker, and even leveling, picking up something off the ground that gives you some type of stamina is good. Remember, more stamina, more weapon power, the harder you're going to hit. More stamina regeneration, the longer you're going to last. That's how I look at it. So as far as how I enchant my armor specifically, I always do the same thing. I enchant health on my head, chest, and legs. Reason being, you get more for large slots. So I think it's more advantageous to enchant those. As far as traits go, I have Impenetrable now, but in 1.6, I'm probably going to upgrade to Infused, maybe Divines, Reinforced, Nirnhome. I'm trying to test if Nirnhome's worth it, or if Reinforced is worth it for a defensive build. If you're going offensive, go Infused. On your head, chest, legs, go Divine on the rest. So Divine's Munda Stone that I use is weapon power, the warrior. So that's going to give us a nice boost to our weapon damage, making it really powerful when you use the bow and or steel tornadoes spamming dual wield. So that's the gear setup. You're proccing meteors with dot damage over time, and mainly due to your axes on your dual wield. If you do use your back bar, use it at range, stay back, do more damage. 2. 5-piece set is really important. I like arenas now because not everyone can get Vicious Ophidian. And I only have 5 pieces, but they're head and shoulders, so I stick with arena. Another trick is I go 5 medium, 1 heavy, which is my shoulders, and then 1 light. Reason being, I'm an Imperial. So not only do Imperials get this massive boost, 10% and 12%, so 12% health, 10% stamina, but I maxed out my Undaunted, giving me 6% health, stamina, magicka. Add those values up with no soft caps, and you are an absolute monster of stats. What would a 1.6 build be without talking about champion points? That's right, I'm talking champion points. So for this setup, I'm using 360 points. Reason being, I know we get 70 when this thing launches, but I want this build to last for a while, and so 360 is a good number that's going to probably last a year or so until I update this, maybe even a few months. So with 360, you're going to get basically 320 point passives if you stick to one tree. So with the Thief, the green, I went to the Lover. The points I put my points into are Mooncalf, increases your stamina regeneration by 25%. That's in a massive amount, so that's going to give us it's going to pair up well with the jewelry that we are using to give us massive stamina regeneration. I like this over reduced cost, but I could see using the other tree if you like that better. Also, Tenacity works really well, increases the amount of magic and stamina I get back from my heavy attacks. Now 6% doesn't seem like a lot, but I'm using a lot of heavy attacks to proc my bleed damage from my axes. So this just keeps me going longer. This is our sustain tree. So I did 100 here, 20 here. Now the other ones increases your magic generation, not really using that, but if you wanted to go more magic build, that's how you would do it. So the Plentiful Harvester is our first passive at 10 points, not that effective. 30 points is amazing. Grants 2 ultimate anytime you activate a synergy. So synergies have about a 30-second cooldown on them, but you can activate a bunch of different ones. So if someone lays a Purify down, activate it. Blazing Spear, activate it. Necrotic Orb, activate it. Nova, see where I'm going with this? Every 2%, every 2 ultimate you get, even out of combat, sorry Sauce if you're watching, I don't want to spoil that, but you could build ultimate out of combat using this. I think this is one of the stronger 30-point passives in the game. Master Gatherer, not so strong, doesn't help us in battle. Windrunner, increases all movement by 2%. Also increases our health and magic regeneration while sprinting. Doesn't sound like that cool, but anytime movement is increased, it's good. Compare that with medium armor sprint. You're talking about sprinting to heal yourself, literally, or sprinting to get back magic to heal yourself. So it makes an interesting 120 passive to keep you in the fight, or run away from it and heal yourself. That's where I went with the Thief. For the Mage, it's a no-brainer with the Ritual. The Ritual is our damage-dealing constellation in the Mage territory. So the thing that I like the best is the Mighty. Increases your physical damage by 25%. I think this is worth a 100-point investment. Now, I'm sure there's a million theories out there that prove me wrong and I'm an idiot or whatever, but increasing your damage flat like this to up to 25% I think is an amazing passive. So until I know more, I'm going with this all the way 100 points. The 20 points that I spent are increasing your armor, your physical attacks ignore. So pair that up with Power of the Light, debuffing their armor, maybe even some enchants on your weapon. You're going to strip them of armor, and that's important. The less armor they have, the more your physical attacks are going to do. This is one of the most valuable trees. Increases the damage of your next physical attack after interrupting your target. This actually is pretty good because we're up front in the middle of the battle, and one bash interrupting a target can help us do a lot of damage. Pair that up with a bash, maybe a heavy attack. Now you got some resources back. You see how this is all working? The 30.1 Perfect Strike is immensely important. The criticals are going to be a thing in PvP now because Impenetrable has gotten nerfed significantly. See my previous video. So now you're going to need critical in PvP, in my opinion, to do a lot more damage. And 30-point investment, this is awesome because we can get this right out of the gate almost. Explorer increases your damage against off-balance enemies by 10%. At 75 points, it doesn't seem that powerful, but actually it is. And here, let me show you why. If you go to the weapon skill line, Dual Wield, and you look at Ruffian, grants you 15% damage bonus when attacking stunned, immobilized, disoriented, or silenced enemies. Now, I don't know if it counts off-balance as stunned, but even if it doesn't, almost all of your enemies are taking extra damage if they're stunned. If you've ever played PvP, a lot of people are stunned. So it's going to be a really good passive, but it doesn't even seem like it. Last Dance grants major heroism. Basically, you get increased ultimate game below 20%. Also doesn't seem that valuable, but it's amazing. Reason being is, like I said earlier, our empowering sweep, what used to be a crappy ultimate, in my opinion, for non-tanks is now amazing because it does damage and it does a dot. Dots are important, remember with our meteor set. And also, no AoE caps. Every person we hit, we take a reduced damage. So if we're low and we get that proc on the 120 points ultimate generation, boom, we can constantly keep this up. So that really is a lifesaver if we're in trouble. I think it's going to be a good passive later on in the game. So the lady is where I went with the warrior skill line. Now light armor focus, not using a whole lot, especially not using 5 pieces. Doesn't make sense to use any in there. Reduce damage from damage over time. That's strong. You could do 40-40-40 split if you wanted. But I really like reducing my poison, magic damage, and then also reducing flame, fire, shock, and frost. Because that's probably the most significant amount of damage you're going to take. I could see going 100 points into this if you were going to be a magic-based build, or I mean a vampire. So it just depends on what you want to do, but I think a 60-60 split's good here. Oop. So some of the things that we unlock. Spell absorption. You get basically 3,000 magic back every time you take a big huge hit from Flame, Frost, Shock, Magic, Earth, or even Oblivion damage, meaning Fire's Guild. 30% of your max health. Now that seems kind of crappy for our stamina build, but actually it's a free Radiant Ward. So if we do get hit really hard, we can get a free ward to protect ourselves, maybe kill an enemy, get health back up. So at 10%, 10 points, this is actually a really important passive. Next up, restore a tiny bit of health when you are hit by a critical attack. Actually, very important. Why? We're going to be in the middle of the fight. Now we can get critically hit a lot. So reducing our critical hits, still getting health back might be a really cool, interesting build coming out later. Critical Leech. Every time you do a crit, you get health back with a 5-second cooldown. So the cooldown, I wish it was without, but I understand why. So getting in there, critting, getting health back, getting crit, this tree goes well with our frontline fighter. So does Unchained. Reduces the stamina cost of abilities by 80% 3 seconds after breaking free of a stun. So pair that with the arena set. Basically you have 40% reduction breaking a stun, and now your next ability costs 80% less stamina. It's just really impressive. So whether you want to do a Steel Tornado or you're trying to escape maybe with a dodge roll or something, this is amazing setup. And this is what I found most effective in the champion system. If you're looking into a build, maybe coming into this game or coming back and you want to level up, it's going to take a while to feel the full effect of this build because it is gear dependent, but you can still make it work for you. Best thing to do when you're starting out is really get puncturing sweeps right away. The reason why is you could seriously just spam that one ability all the way through the leveling experience 1 to 50. I mean, you seriously can. Don't believe me? Look around your next zone. You'll see a lot of spammers doing it. So what I recommend while leveling, trying to obtain this gear, is all about leveling your armor and skill lines. So what that means is keep one ability on dual wield, one ability from each of your trees, Restoring Light, Dawn's Wrath, and then also the important Adric Spear. Reason being is you want all of those passives at endgame. So keep those on, and then also make your armor level up as well. So I might use 4 medium, 2 light, 1 heavy. You want to get those armor skill lines to 50. Now it doesn't seem that valuable when you're on the game, but later on it will be. Deltia, what do I do about attribute points? Slow down the attribute points. It's not that important, especially if you're leveling. I mean, people ask me attribute points every single video I get, and I tell them, worry less about attribute points, worry more about skill points. Skill points and passives, rather than active abilities, are going to make a dramatic impact in your build rather than 100 health. It's going to. Trust me, I've leveled. I have 4 VR14s. And when I put 1 point into a passive, I notice that a heck of a lot more than 100 health. So for me, I just go 100 health straight up until I reach endgame. And then also, you want to make sure that you have gear that is effective. If you don't repair your gear, that's fine, but you at least clip new stuff as you start leveling up. I wouldn't go on a tangent of crafting a bunch of different stuff until you reach endgame. I really wouldn't, because it's not that valuable. Brings up the last point. When do you start PvP? That's up to you, really. If you like PvP right away, jump in. My recommendation is to do a non-vet campaign right away. This way, someone's not going to be VR14 full legendary gear. Once you start feeling comfortable there, maybe go to a low pop VR14 server. So for PC players, it's Hatteras. Once you kind of got your feet wet there, maybe think about going to one of the popular servers like on PvP, PC, it's Stormblade. So if you're enjoying yourself and having fun, That's what's important. If you don't feel powerful and you're not having fun, don't PvP. That's a simple answer when you're leveling. Well, folks, that's a build. I hope you guys like this build, Blazing Harvester. It really took me a lot of time to come up with the idea, talk to other folks, see what was working, and test it out for myself. So Update 6 brings a lot of new changes to the game. I think it's important that we all have a place to launch off and make this build our own. That's the whole point behind my website and all the things that I do, is spending the time in game so you guys don't have to. So you can take this, make it your own. If you want to do more magic-based build, wear light armor, change up a couple skills. These ideas are for you, the community. It's the whole reason I do this. I really enjoyed this build. It's one of my favorite to make, and I can't wait to make some more for different classes. Probably the Dragon Knight next, Nightblade, then the Sork. It's been a joy, and I cannot wait for more Elder Scrolls Online in the future.